That's the plan.
It takes me 2.5 hours at least to get there. This one's taken.
I brought donuts Monday. I'll ask her. She was nice to me today. I gave him to Val because she was the first person I saw when I come in the door. We got a full house. All right. What's going on?
Hope so.
We're going to extend citizens appearing before the board. Chris Sorgenfeld is going to get extended time. Extended time. More than 5 minutes. Yeah, so more than 5 minutes. You saw that, didn't you? Yes, I did. Okay. Yeah, I got a copy. Okay. Surprise! Not. And I see everybody's got Robert Ranson's.
John Fallon.
No. Well, they said their crew's not here to. Oh. That's for. Oh. I don't know why. Yeah, what's there to authorize the expenditure? Kind of late now. There's an emergency.
Already authorized.
But it didn't have a number on. Having fun yet? It's gonna be what's gonna be emergency. That's why I like doing this. We'll figure it out. I'm no politician.
You know it already. This was the thing from Doge, you know, and everything.
Bulldoze you.
This is getting cleared up now. I've been to the doctor twice a week. You want some black and white? I can take this anymore. This is the healing. Upper respiratory infection that kicked up my head. So my eyes were and couldn't breathe. And my new doctor had never hardly heard of it.
In a full house. Is it an angry mom?
So yeah, I had a fun month.
We'll see. Wayne's not here.
Oh,
I
good.
think I lost 20 pounds.
Is he running late?
I don't know. Presumably, I did first thing.
Maybe he slipped off in the ditch.
This is clearing it all up.
That is why.
Except I didn't sleep. Every time
Well, you know.
I get in the spot, it starts to
Pull it in, I see.
hey, I got 2 months. I don't need
Anybody heard from Robin?
We heard you at Tuesday.
Well, yeah, she was at our meeting on Tuesday. She was at Tuesday meeting.
She was there Tuesday.
So that was yesterday. Look, they're having prayer for his week. So I took a picture just for our friend. But if he's not here, I'm okay. I like Kelly back there hiding. Kelly's back there hiding. Did she call in? Gary, did you hear from her at all? Not my phone.
Ready to rock and roll.
Call the meeting to order. Commissioners, please rise. Pledge allegiance. Invocation.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We pray. O Lord God, we come before you in prayer, acknowledging the blessings of government and administration. You are a God of order and have blessed us with the establishment of government officials to provide civil harmony and concord. Be with us in this meeting and give us strength and wisdom to pursue goals which please you. Grant us the courage to support those things which are right and according to your ordinances. For we ask in Christ's name, amen. Amen.
Roll call.
Maybe.
Here.
Presque,
Here.
Libby,
Here.
Crook,
Here.
Hughes,
She's excused. She called.
Okay.
Had procedure. She didn't feel very well. Trying to have a meeting here. Quiet, please. Approval of the agenda.
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve the agenda.
Second.
We have a motion to approve the agenda as presented. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Conflict disclosure. Does anybody have any conflict? I don't have any agenda. Seeing none. We'll go on to the minutes of the meeting, February 13th. Everybody have a chance to read them?
Yeah.
I didn't find any errors.
I apologize for my absence. I'd like to apologize for my absence.
If I had, I'd make a motion to approve the minutes of February 13th.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the minutes of the February 13th meeting.
You did. Second.
All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Treasurer's report. Val?
Good morning. This is your report for January 2025. We had taxes collected and spread in January of $45,265.81 with a year-to-date total of $4,718,002.04. The total of general fund revenue for 2025 of January was $153,977.77 with a year-to-date of $5,792,739.38. The total general fund expenditures for January of 2025 were $785,938.94 for a year-to-date total of $4,008,475.53. We have a change in fund equity of $1,784,263.85. Balance in the general fund checking stands at $1,658,928.98. As far as the budget, the revenues were normal, all regular and normal. The expenses included normal wages, insurance, pension, and routine monthly expenditures. As far as going on in my office, the local units are wrapping up their collection season today, and we'll begin final settlements with them as of March 1st. So that'll be Monday, but we hope to have everything balanced and downloaded into our delinquent system by the middle of March. We're working with our bond counsel from Dickinson Wright and Huron State Bank to bond, so we can pay out the local units and make them whole for the 2024 collection season. 2024 taxes will be considered delinquent if not paid in full to the local units today. The forfeiture and foreclosure process is progressing. On March 1st of 2024, we had 376 properties that were put in forfeiture. 186 of those parcels were personally served on November 1st, and we currently have 109 still in forfeiture and facing foreclosure on April 1st of 2025 for non-payment of 2022 taxes. Today is the last day for people to pay their 2023s before they go into forfeiture on March 1st. We're currently at 488 properties still owing for 2023. So that you can see that's a higher number than last year. So we're seeing people are struggling getting their taxes paid. So that's not a great sign for things coming in. So we had our show cause hearing with Judge Gildner on February 7th, and she's approved 3 taxpayers to be withheld from foreclosure, granting them an additional year to pay their taxes. They each appeared in court and were able to speak to the judge about their situations. One has already been able to get all their delinquent taxes paid through 2023 with some help from NEMSCA, and the other 2 are on payment plans and with our office and to get their taxes paid. They are also working with NEMSCA, and we're hoping that, you know, we get a quick turnaround and they're able to get some help and get that taken care of, so we don't have to put people out of their homes. So that's kind of what we're dealing with in our office. Any questions?
Them 3 taxpayers, did they come out of the 488 properties?
Yes.
I'd like to commend you on a nice job. This is readable and understandable. And as most of you are aware, especially on this board, I approached you just after being elected and looking for clarity. You've been very helpful. I think you're doing a great job. Thank you.
Thank you.
Questions? Thank you. And I would make a motion to approve and file the treasurer's report.
I'll second. That's a vote, probably. Roll call.
Roll call.
Presque,
Yes.
Libby,
Yes.
Crook,
Yes.
Tony.
Yes. This time we'll like to open the floor to constituency. Citizens appear before the board. Rachel.
And I'm not sick. I wear this when I'm in the crowded room for an airplane. I wouldn't anyone to go take care of me if I got sick.
Flu is going around the
Yeah,
way.
yeah, so this is what this is about. So I will try to speak louder because I'm a household of one. Anytime I talk, I think I'm talking loud because I don't walk around my house. But I'll look like. I'm Rachel Goodstein. I live at 126 South First Street in Rogers City, and I also own 50 acres of property in Rogers Township that my parents owned from the early 60s. I'm here, and I always think the citizens appearing things when they're before the content seems a little like putting the cart before the horse or something, but I am aware from talking to people about one of the issues in front of with the Friends and the Yaki Outdoor Center, which has to do with the grant that we received, haven't gotten for a project that might be a desirable project, but really isn't in the plan they put together. And of course, the Akiak Center belongs to the county. And I'm sure someone will provide you with this report, but there's a list of projects, including things like fixing the sidewalk, et cetera, and some of the existing facilities. It's a fabulous facilities. It's this facility that can, generate income on its own. I understand that there's been a partial, a grant already from the county approved by the last board, and there should be some continuity, in my opinion, with government of about $19,000. And I think instead of that being used toward this bigger project, it should be used toward immediate needs. And so that is what I'm hoping the committee does. I also want to applaud you for having a meetings that get this many people. I'm big into civic engagement. I do a solo show called Memoir of a Citizen Appearing, and I'm always glad to see citizens when they appear, no matter whether they agree with me or not. That's what's supposed to happen in the community. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Rachel. Else?
Good morning, I'm Ann Bellinger. I'm a resident of Rogers Township and I am a property owner in that Bellinger Township. And I'm speaking on behalf of myself, although I do serve as a friend on the Akiak Outdoor Center. And last year, we were fortunate enough to receive a grant from the Community Foundation Northeast Michigan for an outdoor education pack. And part of that, we have a committee that's here as well. And part of that was to create revenue through programming that we're planning to do for the coming year and the coming years. So we really want to focus on the revenue that helps support the facility as it exists currently. And so speaking for myself, I truly wish that you would revisit the funding and that you apply that to support the existing building. The facilities, I did take some imaging last fall. Of course, I didn't go out this winter, but just so you can see, and you probably have been out there. I'm sure you have. But when you really do a walk around and you look at the exterior grounds, there, besides the sidewalks, there's so many other issues that they face. And so I think with the collective, the team at the Friends Group and the partnering that we're looking at throughout the region, we really anticipate generating revenue. And it's a priority. And so there again, as Rachel had mentioned too, the rec plan lists all those priority projects. And so I think working in harmony with the commissioners and the county and the different agencies that we can fulfill that. So I just, there again, hope we focus on the priorities of the projects that we have in hand and that we can preserve this National Register iconic center. You know that the theater was actually received we're now on the National Register. So if we do want to protect those historic centers. So thank you for your time.
And do you have any idea what some of your revenue enhancing moves might be to raise revenue, please?
Well, I'll tell you, there's a good example. I went a couple years ago up to Grand Marais, Minnesota. It's called the North House Folk School. I know that MSU does a great job in marketing as far as using that as revenue for renters. But one of the things that we're looking at is crafts. North House Folk School has a litany of different types of workshops. They can be woodcrafting, boat building, nature walking, fiber arts. I mean, there's a whole list, and people come from all over the country to Grand Marais. You know, wouldn't that be a great problem to have if we could generate people coming into the Akiak Outdoor Center, not just for a day, but for a weekend, perhaps a week. So yes, I think through revenue, through class fees and, you know, generating people just to come and see the facility. I think that programming is so important. And I know I'm fortunate enough to be employed through the Presque District Library, and that's been a goal for almost 25 years, being employed at the library, developing programming, events. We're very successful with the theater. That theater is booked almost every day. There's events that are going on. Just last night, we had the St. John's do a play, the youth play. So, I mean, it takes time to develop programming, but I know it can happen. I know we can do it as a team.
If I may. Is Joel here from the township? Hi, Joel.
Hello.
Joel and I, Joel's with Akiak Township, and Joel and I have 3 conversations.
Yeah, please.
Might be off, sorry. And about this project, the granted project, which is additional sidewalk and parking and sloping to create a floating dock and a canoe launch. We all, as new commissioners, and I'm sorry, Cliff, I'm not including you in that, but because you were here before. But the granted project requires the county to provide some matching funds, and the township has committed to some matching funds in order to make that project happen. The next step in that project would be to, and we are soliciting qualified architectural firms to provide that work prior to getting started. And at that point, they'll develop an engineer's estimate of total costs. Not familiar, haven't seen any documentation on the grant, but and then we'll see if that can be covered by the grant and matching funds. I asked because I don't know if most of you are aware, I was worked for the county as economic development director and ad hoc administrative projects as given by the county commission way back when. Akiak Outdoor Center was one of my projects. And Miss Sorgan Fry, she's hiding, I'm sure. Oh, there you are. You and I are not very tall, sorry. But back in the day, you and I toured it many times together and went over things. And my question, because I've not been there since this is the first photographs I've even seen of it in a lot of years. What is the total bookings for the year and revenues for the year? What is our county's annual budgeted costs out of pocket to maintain this wonderful asset?
There is a budget, so, and that would list the revenues received.
Yep.
It's in your, it's 508 is the.
Thank you.
Is the phone number.
Because if I looked through them all, I'd be here.
Yeah.
But long story short, then in terms of unaccomplished maintenance, that concerns me because I think those picnic tables are hardly touched since I was back, how many years ago? Maybe some of you remember. 20?
You were involved in 2010 and 11 somewhere.
Somewhere in
I
there.
through some papers and I found
Yeah. So,
maybe before that as well.
and I have a concern, and I'm not saying that do not support the granted project. I'm saying, do we have a plan for bringing it up to date, repairing things that I would consider health hazards, the sidewalks?
We've been working on quite a bit of that since 2017 and with the Friends group, so.
Yeah. And,
I'll give you my report and I'll tell you more.
okay, Chris, I'm getting ahead of you, Chris. I'm sorry.
The grant is for like 175,000. Yeah. I don't know if it encompasses any of the stuff you're talking about.
Hi.
Hello.
I'm Amber Alexander. I live in Rogers Township and I own property in Rogers Township on Wright Highway too. I'm here to talk about the Akiak Outdoor Center, and I want to talk specifically about the Park and Rec plan on page 21. The Akiak Center has a groundskeeper to assist with maintenance of the facility. What is that job description and who is accountable for that? At the end of the day, who is accountable for that position? Who is reporting back to you that those projects that are in Parks and Rec are getting completed? When it pertains to the actual list of projects that are out at Akiak Outdoor Center, I want to touch base on one that is home to heart to me. And it's the sidewalks. This is an aerial view of the sidewalks. If you want to bring revenue in, you're going to be bringing in family reunions and weddings and people in wheelchairs. My dad lost both of his feet in Vietnam War. He was only there for 3 weeks and he was only stationed at the station for 1 week. Missile hit him, lost both of his legs. I know exactly what living in ADA compliance is. Lived in an ADA compliant house. I pushed my dad in a wheelchair. I did things I should not have done as a child to my dad in a wheelchair. And now my mother's in a wheelchair and he takes care of my mother in a wheelchair. They're both in wheelchairs, he's taking care of her. If I were to have a family reunion down there and they pulled in the parking lot and my dad got his track chair out, because thankfully the VA was able to give him a track chair. but we got my mother out and I had to push her. That sidewalk is not gonna work. And I've had people recommend we remove the sidewalk. I'm gonna tell you right now, you cannot push somebody in a wheelchair in grass. It's not feasible. If you want people to use that site and use those buildings, we gotta get the buildings up to snuff in order to put the cherry on top, which I think that grant is. I think we're reaching for this cherry on top with this grant, but we just missed everything in between to get those people there. And that's how I view it. This big old cherry, but we just skipped the cone and the ice cream to get the people in for that revenue of renting that area. I have been just elected on the board of the Akiak Friends, and I'm gonna be on the marketing committee, so I'm gonna be upping the marketing location. But in the meantime, in order to market it, in order to sell it to people to come rent, we gotta put some money back in the infrastructure of it. And like I said, what if they did have with somebody in a wheelchair? They're likely gonna go pick somewhere that they can push their grandma in better than at Akiak to just even get to a building. So I urge you to reevaluate the Parks and Rec plan, to help with the Friends and formulate that task list of what's more important now, what can we afford, what we can help with. And then also I have some ideas about maybe some ways to garner membership with the Friends, that maybe we can offer discounts to get people in there and get them using that facilities again. On another note, I just want the county board to be aware that a historic partnership has been formed. We are looking at a 2026 August primary for the Presque Museum, the War Museum, and Onaway Historical Society for a millage to help in their historical revenue. Obviously, a lot of them are barely making it by. And the county, you own 40 Mile Point Lighthouse and Akiak Outdoor Center. I'm asking that maybe be part of that conversation and including the Akiak Outdoor Center and possibly the 40 Mile Point Lighthouse in order to have this countywide historical commission and get a millage passed in 2026, which is also our 250th anniversary. It's just right around the corner. And help these entities that are struggling, these historical entities struggling to for future generations. And that is the year to do it because it is our 250th. Let's make it another 50 years with some of these places. So that has been formed. I have been sending emails out regarding that. And if you have any questions on that, please get a hold of me and I can invite you to the table. And we're working on that as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Chris, your turn.
She's next after.
I don't know if I have anything else to say.
Is she? Oh, yeah, yeah.
Yes, I
I'm
certainly
sorry.
do. Yes, it's on.
I guess we're moving on to presentation.
I
What I'm
guess.
giving you right now is just a brief history of Akiak Outdoor Center. By the way, I'm Trish Sorgenfry, and I'm the president of the Friends Group. And we have Joel Jarosh, who's a new member of our board, and he's representing Akiak Township. They've been very generous in their funds for Akiak Outdoor Center. Don Chapa is a member of the board. And as is Ann and Cammie and Amber. I'll get it all here. And Sarah is a member of our board, and she's also caretaker at the camp. And she lives close by, so that means she gets to do maybe more than she even gets paid for. Okay, so I'm not going to go through all of this. I want you to read it, but I think you should be aware that the county in 2004 received that property. So it's so Presque County now owns 18 acres or 17 acres out there. You have 150 acre or 150 feet of frontage on Akiak Lake. It's prime property. If it's no longer being used for the purpose that you got it for, which was for recreation and environmental education and those kinds of things, it would go back to the DNR. And when we secured it from the DNR, they had a plan in place to bulldoze all the buildings. It's one of 2 CCC camps left in the state of Michigan. The one in the Upper Peninsula is not being used as a residential camp as this one is. I have a long history with that camp. I went out and helped the ladies from our church serve a meal for one of the 4-H groups who was out there at the time. They used to have, I guess, they'd have different groups come in to do their meals. And that was in 1961. And I feel like I've been out there practically every year ever since. I skipped a few, but so there have been a lot of improvements made on those buildings over the years. A lot more can be done. We're not interested in making it like a motel or a hotel. It's a rustic camp, and it will stay that way. So if it's no longer used for the purpose that it was given for, it will revert back to the DNR. So you guys can't sit around and figure out how you're going to sell it for a fancy resort or something like that out there. The DNR could if they wanted to, but we can't. So consider it a real benefit to the area. Wilderness areas are getting lost. I know you're well aware of a lot of people who are moving up north, moving into this county. It would be prime piece of property. You probably could get a lot of money for it, or the state could. So, but we do need to keep some pieces of property for the use of the general public. So that's been our plan, is to make it more usable, to make it a place where.
Thank you.
Make it an affordable place. But while I know we have people who have plenty of money in this county, there are a lot of people who don't have much money, and maybe are going to have even less. So we'd like to provide a place where a group could conduct education for their youth and have it be a reasonable thing that they can afford to do. So that maybe means that there will have to be some extra money put into maintenance and so forth. I think we need to decide as a group of maybe in the county altogether that this is not just something, you know, that is getting to be too much work for us. But we need to value it a little bit more, and I'm sure that a lot more help will come in for it, both money-wise and otherwise. Now, the very first thing that's listed under this accomplishments thing is the grant we've been talking about. And as I understand it, before that grant was submitted, there was an agreement that the county would come up with the $19,000 in match. So that was done by the last board. I don't feel like whatever was done before we can throw out. If that happened to every single board in the country, I don't know that we would make a whole lot of progress. And down the road, you'd think, oh my goodness, why did we do that? So when you think about the money that the county puts in this case, $19,000, then think about the money that leverages. The grant is $140,000. The total part of the grant would be $206,000. So we've already raised $14,500 from Akiak Township. The Friends Group has encumbered $5,000, and they are willing to go ahead and work on another $9,900. We're looking at some grant proposals for some of that. So that's money that's a lot of money that you don't have to raise to do something like that. So we would end up with this dock that would be, and there's a picture of it in here. There it is. There's a dock that would be handicap accessible and would have a kayak launch as well. So, and then in order, Mary Ann Heidemann, who most of you know, she really worked on the grant, probably more than the rest of us did. And she talks about, the fact that, and if we go back in our minutes, we'll see that the board okayed everything at every step along the way. And there's also another thing, if we were to not do this grant, say, okay, we did all this work now we're, you're not gonna front us some money, so we can't do it. It might be a very long time before we could consider another grant proposal. And if we're doing a handicapped accessible dock, how are you gonna get handicapped people to it? So you have to do the walkway to do that. We're hoping that we can find, the right person to do the designing, a good landscape architect, so that that pathway, however it's made, would be an enhancement to the grounds out there and not an eyesore. I know some people after Akiak Falls Park was redone were very unhappy. They liked it the way it was because not many people used it. And now it's busy all the time. So you give up some things to get a whole lot of other things. You want a lot of people in this community to leave their money here when they come and visit, but we don't want to have anything for them to visit. So you can't have it both ways. Can't have it both ways. Okay, we constructed an outdoor classroom. So what's an outdoor classroom? It's a piece of gravel that's been hauled in the fine gravel, and then it's been packed down so that we have a hard surface. And it's a lovely circular area out in the woods, kind of adjacent to the garage building that's out there just behind it. And it now has 9 concrete benches out there so that people can conduct outdoor activities. We could do a small concert out there. We could do all kinds of classes that maybe groups who use the camp would like to do outside. And that's in place. There's a picture of the benches here. Those benches had to be put in place with a crane and a skid steer. And the labor was provided by our board members. Cammie's husband was out there a lot. I missed you before. Cammie Dennis is a member of
The 3 of us, Cammie, myself, and your husband David and Mark's still, Sheila. And it was through a grant through South now.
Yeah, there was a grant provided with that, but if the labor had to be paid for and the equipment to do this, it would have cost twice as much, 3 times. Labor's generally what, like 2/3 of the cost of the project, maybe more. So we're looking forward to using that. That's just been put in place this last fall, so it hasn't really been used yet. Craft classes and events that were held out there, a mural class. And you see on the front of this, there's a young gal there who's working on this painting. There are 3 huge murals out there now that are inside this classroom building. So I think maybe what we really need to do, we need to put on our agenda a plan so that we can invite the county commissioners out to the camp and give them a tour. Because if you haven't seen it, how do you know what you got? You need to see it. The lake is not available to swim in. And there has been a beach there in the past. I think when MUCC was leasing the camp, they put a beach, but it doesn't stay because it's a mucky bottom and the water washes it away. So you have to keep using it and adding sand, which we have not been able to do. So it normally has never, I remember years ago, was never used for swimming. Fishing, when my husband was out there, he taught a class in fishing. Kids don't just grow up knowing how to fish anymore. They used to. We did a soup and stew class out there, which was, according to the gal who organized it, another one of our board members, was wonderful. It was done by the gal who works at the extension office. We didn't charge very much for it. We didn't make money on that endeavor. The murals class, that paid for itself pretty much. So, and there's a list in the craft room of who helped paint that. We've tried to keep past renters in mind, so we did send a letter. We had Wendy Martin at the extension office send a letter to all of the previous campers, letting them know what's been going on out at camp, why they should come back. As you know, it was COVID, I think, that kind of put a dent in everything. So Wendy gave me a list of the reservations so far for 2025. These have come in earlier than they have in the past couple of years. If you want to use it on a weekend, you'll have to do it the 4th of July weekend or else the first weekend in September. Otherwise, all the weekends have been reserved from the end of June through August. That means there's still quite a bit of blank time in the middle of the week, which is a good time for small day camps and 2 and 3 day camps. 4-H youth used to go out there way back in the day when my kids were in 4-H. And they would have 2 4 or 5 day camps, 2 weeks of camp. I remember being out there as a cook for 2 weeks. I was glad when that 2 weeks was over. But kids don't go to camp for that long anymore. It's different. It's different than it used to be. So while we're trying to get more revenue paying people out there, we have to find a way to market to those people who want to come out for maybe a 2 or 3 day workshop and build a twig chair, or I did a basket weaving class out there using ash, which is getting to be pretty rare anymore. But that's a kind of a craft that people used to do a lot of. So we want to try and, keep people in touch with their past while providing future use as well. Or one other thing, I don't know how many of you are familiar with this book. Have you seen it before?
We all have it. We all have it.
You all have it? Okay, great. Well, there's a really good article in there about Octop Outdoor Center. Reread it. I did last night. I said, oh, that's become more familiar with, and then all the other things that have come about because there was a CCC camp and those people built this other stuff. Not all of it, but quite a bit. So it's a nice piece of history we would like to keep viable to use. Did I miss anything? Questions?
Yeah. What is the rate currently right now for the weekend?
I'm not sure. It depends. It actually depends on what buildings you use.
I thought you could rent the whole camp like we did for.
You can rent the whole camp. I think it's $400 to $500 a night for the whole camp, depending on.
I think the consensus here is we need to work with MSU Extension to understand those prices and things going forward.
I have a copy of the prices, but they're from a while ago. We used to provide free camp for in-county groups. They would come out, we wouldn't charge them. School groups would come, and there would be no charge. They would provide their food and their stuff and all that sort of thing. But we did away with that a few years ago. And the Friends group was the group who really decided that it wasn't necessary, that we don't charge that much out there. So if it costs a camper $5 for a night, you're gonna have an overnight camp and you gotta pay $5 for rent, that's doable. And there was a difference then between in-county and out-of-county charges. And now those are all the same. Those are the same. Money is money. So, and I think there's that principle, which I kind of believe, is that if you don't pay for something, you don't value it as much. So you need to pay something. It doesn't have to be the world.
Found it interesting, Chris, you were there in 1961. That was your beginning with the camp. I grew up in Hawks, Michigan, 4-H. When I was like 6th or 7th grade in the late 50s. I was out there for several days, enjoyed it, and I think it's a wonderful camp.
It is.
My question is, you mentioned you have $206,000 to work with, 140,000 grant, 19,000 hopefully from the county, plus Akiak Township and other revenue
Yep,
sources.
yep.
We heard an impassioned plea for sidewalks. My question is, the grant that Mary Ann Heidemann was part of creating is earmarked for the trail, the dock, the kayak launch, and so forth. Can that money be legally used for sidewalk improvement?
No, no.
Cannot, can it?
No.
So-
It's specific to the
How
grant.
much sidewalk renovation do you anticipate needs to be done? Just a simple sidewalk or a lot of?
That's why I think it would be good for us all to go out there, maybe in May. When, you know, we can't go now, but to go out there and do an assessment. I don't believe that's really ever been done. I
Yeah,
know
we,
Aerial view kind of gives you an estimate of what's there for the sidewalk and how it looks too. So again, look at that aerial view.
The
Looks like
trees,
quite a bit of sidewalk. to
Yeah.
me.
the trees have grown up and, well, we can do a special sidewalk fundraiser. We did a breakfast out there last year, a lumberjack breakfast in October, which we raised almost $3,000. I think probably if we paid for all the food and stuff that was donated, we didn't raise much money, but, so the volunteers, the board, the Friends Board has given lots of time, lots of money, and we would just sort of like you to match that.
We, Rob, you're the alternative on the building and grounds, right? Alternate.
I am now.
Yeah. As a building and grounds committee, yesterday we talked? Tuesday we talked that, as soon as we're able to in the spring, at least Rob and I will make it together. You know, we can't come more than 2 at a time because of rules.
Oh, yes, I understand.
Yeah. So,
But it would be good for you to go with one of the Friends members, so that we make sure you see everything that we.
so at least I'd have a key to,
So that you can,
yeah, absolutely. That is the plan. And if the weather gets better before May 1st, we would like that to happen as soon as possible.
Please correct that.
in the beginning,
grant, the previous-
when the county received the camp, that was after MUCC had stopped leasing it. They put a fair amount of money into it for, I don't know, 2, 3, 4 years maybe. We're
That was
talking
back when Alan
thousands,
Bruder was on.
30, 40,000 for a few years there, just because the buildings were totally empty. Sarah?
I'm sorry, can I just say, just a quick thing about the docks? Not to go either way with them, just the current state of the docks are awful. They're very used, they're kind of dangerous. Mike has to use his personal equipment to pull them out. So I'm just giving you a couple facts about our current docks. Maybe there isn't a lot of background about our current situation. They're falling apart. They are not very usable, and the 4-H club really uses them. A lot of people fish off of them. They are just, even if we didn't get the current grant or docks that we have now, they do need to be considered in our plan. That's all. So just our current state of docks is really bad.
Well, the grant's been approved
Yes.
Yes.
and the last county board voted to fill in the cost share. Akiak Township kicked in 14.5.
And you did vote to seek a designer. for
Akiak,
Yeah.
the Akiak Township, or the
Had a
Akiak
response to that
Friends
letter.
kicked in some money.
Yep.
And the county voted to.
Seemed to me when Mary Ann Heidemann made her report, the next step was, Joe, to get a landscape architect and get moving on. Do we have one hired yet?
No, the letters have gone out, but with very little response, if any. We'll have to dig
Yeah,
a little deeper.
this is considered a pretty small project.
Yeah.
So you're lucky if when you can finally get somebody, maybe that's not the person you would have desired, but that's who's available and.
Yeah,
will
I'll
do it.
contact
So-
Roland.
Really intense.
No.
The majority of the grant money is gonna go back.
Right, it will, yes.
Again, I entertain coming to this historical partnership and having that conversation. Maybe a village might be fruitful for the Yaki Outdoor Center for the future of it. Then it's on the voters to make that decision on saving Yaki Outdoor Center.
That's an option. yes.
I got another question. Is that grant contingent upon, there's a timeline where we've got to get an architect and get things in place by a certain date, or we can loosely grant? Is
Yeah,
that a possibility?
You need to show,
Progress.
a substantial completion by the end of this calendar year.
So we gotta get moving on
Well,
that.
yeah.
Well, yes, you can get the dock in place, which is the big bulk of the cost, and get some of the infrastructure done. Substantial completion, most of the time is in the 66%. So just buying the dock and having it on site would constitute about,
Yeah, the docks will be pre-built, so that's.
yeah, so, yeah, substantial completion with architectural or landscaping stuff finished next spring would probably, well, I'm sure it would still qualify. And that's a reimbursable kind of thing. Yeah, as you remember the earlier time, the county would expend the monies and be reimbursed for it from the grant that's been committed.
Well, we don't lose the grant. That's
No.
my concern.
But there is a concern there.
There's a concern, I think there's two levels of hearing, you should address the first one.
The application for the grant doesn't even come out until August.
Right,
Well,
that,
it's been
Funded.
approved, but it now has to go through the legislature. And then,
And then we talk about federal funding right now, and let's think about that.
So if you have an expenditure of over 30,000.
this is not federal money, this is
State.
state money, so I don't think we need to worry about whether it's money.
Can't follow the
I don't
conversation.
Mhm.
Mr. Chairman, Rachel has a comment back there.
Well, I have a question, a procedural one. I know that only two commissioners can meet in certain situations. Otherwise, it's a public meeting.
Correct.
Most of my adult life, I lived in Chicago and often boards met elsewhere in order to see things. Is it possible for the commission to schedule a workshop or a special meeting where everyone, all of you, go out at the
That's
same time as a
possible.
public? And I think that would be a better
That's
way,
possible.
and frankly, a faster way, because then everyone goes out there at the same time. Everyone sees, all the questions get answered. You do it when it's reasonably
Yeah,
nice weather
that's
here,
more
so,
feasible.
so there's enough notice between now and picking some day in May. And if it rains, we're here, but you know what I'm saying, because I just think there is a call for efficiency as well.
And it doesn't have to be a private, I mean, could be a public
No,
meeting.
that's what I'm saying.
So you all
Just
just come and
That's what I'm
tour as
saying.
well, but I mean, it's,
I'm
I
just
think it's
saying,
All right.
a special
We're good.
meeting or a
We'll
workshop.
schedule something.
okay. Can work on that.
So we
Not
can all look at
today.
it,
Thank you.
Not be good
get
day.
eyes on it.
Thank you, Chris.
Well,
Thank
thank
you for
you.
the
Thank you
report.
for your time.
Yep, thank you. Okay. Moving on, we have unfinished business, land purchase request inquiry.
I can speak to that for you quick. So that was in the January 31st packet you guys had. That was the meeting I unexpectedly was unable to do that. So it was just in your correspondence at that point. There's another copy of the email about the parcel that a citizen or somebody was inquiring about purchasing from the county. I don't really know anything about it, but I did ask Dave Equalization provided that map so you can see kind of where it's at. Basically to explore what it is and what it takes. I just left that on unfinished business because it was in correspondence. And I would say that, you might want to take action on it, maybe by kicking it down to a committee to explore what it's all about.
We could go to,
I spoke
send it to grounds committee.
with Dave about it,
Yeah,
and, as far as since they're maintaining it, or
they're not giving up their easement.
they don't want to, they prefer to hang on to it,
The road
the county,
commission.
road commission does.
Well, the road, we own it, the
Yeah.
road commission has the easements and they're not gonna give it up.
No,
It could be when the Conservancy approaches the board. Wants to talk about it, we could kick it down to building and grounds, but it doesn't look like we're gonna move forward too much with it right now at this moment. So I could probably table that until we hear anything from the Conservancy that wants to buy it. But you are correct, the road commission
I just
isn't giving up any of it.
talked to Dave yesterday, just to be sure.
You want me to email Susan Glass?
What's that?
That's the lady that, from the Conservancy,
The
that,
Conservancy lady.
Susanna
Well,
Glass.
She needs to come in front of the board.
Yeah, I can email her as the chair of the Building and Grounds Committee.
Tell her she has to come to the board.
Yeah, at this point, it doesn't look like there'd be any action, but if you'd like to approach the board, please.
Definitely no action until you see what your plan is.
Okay. Happy to do it.
Table it.
Mhm.
Hey, no other unfinished business, new business, furnace repair. Emergency. With the HVAC system on the west wing here at the annex building went out. And I met with the vice chair. Emergency, we had to purchase a
Heat exchanger for the rooftop units, and they were gonna be installing it today. It's here, but I think they're holding off due to weather. So hopefully Monday that'll get replaced. So there was carbon monoxide in the building, so can't have that. That's why we have electric heaters for temporary. But as you can see, now that it's a little warmer than it was a few weeks ago, we're maintaining pretty good temperatures in this space. And it's safe.
that's the main thing. We purchased the extra meters and we had to put the money into it to,
Yeah. We didn't want to, but we had to for safety.
knowing it's all gonna be scrapped and down the road. in a few months.
Yeah.
Is that included?
Claims audit?
Next claims audit.
It'll be.
Membership dues, Kirtland College. Legal Law. So what's
Did you want to?
What's the membership dues?
Certain things that.
Hi, Joe.
So, what Kirkland is, it's a mandatory training. So years ago, Alpena used to run a week-long training for each officers. They go down to all departments from all over the state, and do a week-long training, update your training, your certification goes, and it's mandated by the state. It ended up stopping, obviously 2020 hit a little bit, that stopped some of it, but then it's not. Kirkland's redoing it again. They changed the format. So now officer departments don't gotta send somebody for a week at a time, like 2 officers a week, because nobody's got the help. Everybody's shorthanded. So it's 2 days at a time. Then 5 months later, it's another 2 days to get them caught up. So it's mandated training. Kirkland's put it on, and so that's what it's
certification?
for.
Certification, is that what it is?
Yeah, it's like the certified CPR and driving, and then you get as far as your MPOLs, each officer has an MPOLs number that registered with the state. You have to log so many hours on that per year, and that covers that. So by the time they get done with that for the year, their hours are actually caught up in the state. And then it also helps you liability wise, because when we get sued and stupid stuff like that, they show that we have been to the classes and we have been there, and so that's what it's for. So that's what Kirtland does.
What do we need from the board?
I think it's a pay. I think
It's actually a payment that is,
Yeah.
because it's basically like a dues to the
It's a dues.
consortium that
Yep.
Chris provided. So we just need an action to pay that rather than putting
Does it
the
come out of
claims, just to do
their
the
budget?
$2,500 payment to send.
You had budgeted for?
From the sheriff's budget or
it was not.
Sheriff's budget.
sheriff's?
Well, some of it was. Joe asked me it was budgeted. This particular Kirkland was not, because they just started this year after our budget was already put in last year. We do have money for training in the budget, so it's kind of Joe. It's kind of like, we do have money in the training for budget. It wasn't earmarked specifically saying Kirkland Regional Training
But you can
Academy.
use it for that.
It'll come out of his training budget.
Yeah.
Yes, so because of the training, it just wasn't earmarked specifically, but now with the new budget coming up April 1st, we'll put our budget together.
Yeah.
We will put that back in, earmark that specifically. So all like, we'll piggyback the Broad City Police Department, we'll jump at their officer, couple, Jamie will send one down, I'll send one down. We kind of work together.
Piggyback it.
Yeah, so we kind
Alright.
of go together, drive together, we kind of take turns, so it works good.
I'll make
But
the
it's
motion.
kind of mandatory.
So you just
I
need. a
support that
motion.
motion. It's 1750, Joe. Is that what we're talking about?
1750.
At the bottom,
Sounds right.
right on the
Wasn't
bottom
it-
here.
wasn't it- I don't
Two
know, you-
places.
You've got.
Oh, there it is. yeah.
1750, 1750.
Yeah.
Right on the bottom,
I don't even have it.
Everybody.
part of our packet, I have it.
Yeah, there it is.
Right
Right
on the
towards the
bottom.
back. $1,750.
That's your motion, I'm supporting it.
1750.
Yep.
You got a motion to support. Yeah. That's your
For the discussion?
roll call vote.
Okay, Libby,
Yes.
Lee,
Yes.
Presque,
Yes.
and Kirk.
Yes.
Motion carried. Use of the courthouse lawn nautical festival committee.
On that too. That's pretty boilerplate. They do that every year. They mail it into the office.
With
And then
contingencies.
just looked at it and I took the exact wording that they've been using for years and attached it to the bottom there for the motion on it. So
And they included cleaning up any mess. That's how it. Correct.
well, that's what we've always had. That's what's there. So
All right.
With varying degrees of success.
What's that?
With varying degrees of success. I'll make that motion.
We need a motion to support that motion.
Motion and support to allow the nautical committee to use it. Courthouse grounds. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed. Motion carried. Now, discuss personal issues, building.
Morning, everyone.
Morning.
Don Gilman, your building official. I live on 23 in Presque. The reason I asked you to put on the agenda was because of a workshop that was held on January 31st after your regular board meeting. And all that was noticed was workshop personnel committee. When in fact, looking at the scant minutes there are from that meeting, it looks like it was all to discuss issues in the building department, based on the fact that a previous building official and a previous electrical inspector were present at the meeting. So I think it should have been noticed in accordance with the open meetings act, but that's not what I care about. What I do care about is I'm your building official, like it or not. I mean, you can fire me anytime you want. I can quit anytime I want. But as long as I'm here, I am the one that is responsible for administering the building department. That includes electrical, plumbing, mechanical, your building inspector, zoning, that's general funds, that's out of the picture. I help Shelley because I'm a certified zoning administrator, so I know a little bit about it. So, you know, I was a little bit taken back, the fact that I didn't get a heads up. Had I looked at the agenda, that I saw on there, the word building department, I can assure you I would have showed up. So anyway, here I am today. So, and I know that I couldn't even see a vote on it. Evidently, the workshop, I mean, you can call your meeting of 5 commissioners, whatever you want, but I didn't see anybody make a motion to refer it to personnel committee. To me, that makes perfect sense because that's what the personnel committee does anyway, to talk about these kind of issues. But and I know I spoke to everybody, including Robin individually after this happened, Joe, Cliff, we've all had a chat about my opinions on it. And I was basically directed, you know, we need to talk to the personnel committee. And with the things in the building department that aren't exactly right, I think I need to address all the county commissioners so that you all at least have a chance to perform your jobs correctly. Because we don't get to pick. I don't get to pick codes we want to follow or how I said building department procedures, which I did with the previous board and with Jeremiah Wergo, the county attorney. And Cliff, you were involved in that. We went for a couple months getting that down, which is another function of a building official. They never had one, but when you have a department, you need to have everybody operating on the same page. So we have that going now. So one of the things that came out of that was wanted, that was actually requested by your attorney and the previous board, was that should you get any complaints, they have to be in writing. We have a complaint form that we designed for that. It's online at the building department, and it's also in our information file over there. So through conversations with different commissioners, you know, I hear things like, well, you know, I've got 30 or 40 complaints. Well, I haven't got any. And if you got 30 or 40 complaints, then I should be seeing a whole lot of pieces of paper with written complaints. Because the way it works legally, you guys can't resolve a complaint over a code issue or do I need a building permit? But I know, it's like I told you when I came to your organizational meeting, you will get complaints, because if you don't get a few complaints, and probably your inspectors aren't in building, but they're not doing their job, because we're never going to make everybody happy, trust me. I mean, I've got a whole bunch of permits and I'm not always happy with my inspectors either when they're inspecting me, but that's just life, right? So that's why I came on the second to tell you that, and then seeing the thing on the meeting on the 31st raises some alarms. I pulled the up-to-date budget because I can't see, that's another thing that I've just had discussions with Darren about is, one is your chart of accounts, the commingling of enterprise funds and general revenue funds. And so if you look, if you guys got the budget, you can see the budget, I can't. But if you look on it, the 249 is the enterprise fund for the building department, first three letters. And I know Darren didn't set that up, he inherited it, right? And then 101 is your general fund. So if you're looking at, and then revenues collected by the building department, whether they're for, if they're your agency that collects for zoning permits, planning commission, zoning meetings, soil erosion, that's fine. But those funds are 101. Those are general fund activities. Plumbing, mechanical, electrical, fire suppression, any of those permits, building permits, those are 249 enterprise funds. One thing that we did get, that I noticed today that was right, previous board, previous clerk, all the revenue for electrical, mechanical, and plumbing permits that was shown was the 20% that you guys currently keep, the county keeps, I shouldn't say you guys, the county keeps. And the 80% or the 100% was, she had been putting in a 705 account, which is a kind of an account that the county uses for funds they're not gonna have in their hands very long. Can't do that, and I told her that, and when I did the budget for 23, 24, we had that conversation. It didn't quite make it that time, but I see the 24, 25 budget. You don't know that I turned that into Anne Marie because she told you she was waiting for Mike Smiley to come, the new building inspector you hired that hasn't been able to get his licenses. And I know you're moving on from that. But I actually did the budget, and I'm here to tell you today that budget's right on track. Electrical, plumbing, mechanical, all real low, but that's okay because the busy season for that's just coming up. The building permits are way higher than I anticipated. They're going to get even higher when the weather breaks. Blah, blah, blah. So anyway, I just want to again reiterate, there's nothing wrong with any of you calling me if you could complain on inspector. But from there, it's up to me, the building official, to get with the inspector, get with the complaint, and find out what's wrong. Because then I'm going to make a decision, and that's it for me. I'm either going to agree with them, or I'm going to agree with the inspector, or we're going to come to a compromise. But in the event that the complainant is not happy, the next remedy is to go to the Construction Board of Appeals. And that's by state law, that you have to follow administrative remedies when you're dealing with the public and when you're dealing with rules and procedures and regulations, whatever you want to call them. And so, based on conversations, that's not what's happened. Another thing, I know it was mentioned that, you're new, and I don't know who it is, but I know it's a fellow that has licenses in other states. I took the liberty of contacting LAR, Department of Licensing and Regulation. If you hire someone that was a building inspector, building official, plan reviewer in another state, and I already shared this with Joe, he'll be able to come and pay the $75 a license. He isn't gonna have to take any tests. He's not gonna be on a waiting list. That guy hits the ground running, right? Or if he's licensed, in another. Unfortunately, seems like everybody that always applies here doesn't have all the right licenses to begin. That's why you're working on with all subcontractors. I would implore you as you work through the budget, providing I'm still here, I would like to be part of that process with the building department. Because I understand how to project the budget. The hardest budget, one of the hardest budgets in the world to do is the building department budget, your zoning budget, because you don't really know how many building permits or elections you're going to get. So you take your best guess.
Estimates.
The reason we do 80-20 on all the trades is because that's absolutely the best way to do your budget, because it has no effect on your budget. No matter what, you're always going to have 20% of the revenue. And you're never going to have less than 100% of what it costs you to do the program. So I know that some people get upset because they look at the amount of money that some inspectors make based on that 80%, but it's not always going to be that way. And it's not just the days they inspect. There's a lot of effort, a lot of fuel, a lot of breakdowns, a lot of miles on their personal vehicles, their personal insurance and county insurance. There's a whole lot of issues involved here, so that big number is not as big as it really is by the time they get what's left. So that's, I just wanted to again say that. If you have any questions right now,
When you get a complaint and you're out, in the field, you have the forms right with you.
generally I get them that somebody calls me on the phone. So the last one I got called me on the phone. So, you know, they may not be aware of the county's complaint policy. So instead of just saying, hey, man, I can't talk to you.
Well, you talk to them.
Right, I say, what's the problem? And then I say, okay, so if you want to complain, and when I heard what that problem was, there was really nothing I could do about it. So I told myself, what you want to do is, if you disagree that strongly, is you go to see Kathy at the building department. And there's a form, you fill out that form to go to the building board of appeals. And I said, at that point, the inspector gives his side to the building board of appeals, you'll give your side, they'll deliberate, and they'll make a decision, and that decision is binding. Because that's what Public Act 230 requires. And that's what we all signed up to do. All of, you know, I've got about half a dozen licenses through there. Every one of them revolving around Public Act 230 and what I have to do. The other inspectors all have the same kind of licenses. So we're forced to pretty much abide by the rules. There is some flexibility, but that flexibility can't come from a county commission. It can come from the building official. And we do that. You guys aren't aware of it because you're not in the day-to-day stuff, but there's lots of conversations I have with inspectors of, hey, what do you think about this? Well, you know, I know the code, it's gotta be 100%, but we're gonna be 97. Nobody's gonna die. It's not a safety hazard. I tell them, I say, document why you strayed from the written word and we'll be fine. And we will be, because I've been in those situations before and I've been in court on those situations before. I've been doing this for a long time, all over Northern Michigan. So, I just wanted to try one more time before we all get ourselves in trouble. So that's not good for anybody.
So the best thing when people come up to you, hunt you down in the field, is just refer them to the field.
Give them my cell number. I mean, they probably got
And then
it.
if you can't work it out there, then you'll give them a complaint form, they can appeal.
Well, I'll fill out a complaint form for them. I mean, we're just supposed to have these things in writing. And then once they're in writing, then they get logged into the BSA
Right.
computer system.
Yeah,
So
right.
you don't have, because what we had when we started was all these people going, oh, I've been complaining for 5 years about this camper over here. Look, well, guess what? There's nothing. Well, we track all that stuff. It's all in there now. So then we start the 30-day clock with written document. If it isn't written down, one, it doesn't exist. And two, if you wind up in court 3 years later, you're gonna have one hell of a time trying to convince somebody that what you're saying is your memory's good.
That's why we previously set that policy.
Yeah.
So
And,
you
and,
try-
and that'll work. And I know John has a few things to say too before. Anybody have any more questions for me right now or?
I talked to you earlier.
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks.
I think it's John Moran, I'm the electrical inspector for the county, and most of you don't know me, and probably don't know my background or what I've been done or in my history. I served on the fire department as volunteer fire. I saw that side of it. I served 25 years as a contractor. I saw that side of it, and 5 years as an electrical inspector. With that, I'm gonna make this statement. I have a copy for each one of you. And you want to hand them this to Doug. These are the laws, the rules, the acts that I'm bound to.
Thank you. There's only one more. Maybe there's more in there. I can't.
Presque County Commissioners, all of you took an oath to uphold the law. Presque Steele County entered into agreement with the state of Michigan to enforce the following. Public Act 230, Skilled Trades Act 407, Part 8 Electrical Code Rules, Part 5 Residential Code Rules, Part 11 Pre-Manufactured Units, Part 4 Building Codes, Part 9A Mechanical Codes, Part 7 Plumbing Codes, Michigan Residential Code 2015, Michigan Electrical Code 2023, Michigan Energy Code, Michigan Building Code 2015, Michigan Rehab Code 2015, Michigan Plumbing Code 2021, Michigan Mechanical 2021. Myself, John Moran, is bound by law to enforce these. I have to enforce, number one, the laws, which are all the acts. Number two, which are administrative rules. And then last are the codes. So the laws trump the rules trump the codes, and that's basically how we're supposed to enforce it. If any commissioner would like Presque inspectors to enforce anything other than the above, please put it in writing and give each one of us inspectors a copy of that. Rumored complaints, unofficial or undocumented complaints. All complaints per county board policy shall be in writing. Any complaint should be filed with the building official. The complaint should then be discussed with the building official and the inspector that the complaint is filed against. The building official has the authority to approve the code violation or recommend that the complainant file an appeal with the county building code of appeals. Once the building code of appeals makes a decision, whether in favor of the complainant or the inspector, either party then has the right to file the complaint with the state of Michigan Building Code of Appeals. This is called due process. Wages, as far as electrical, planning, or plumbing and mechanical, wages are zero effect on the county budget for us. All permit fees by law should be used by the building department for building department needs. I've worked under two other previous boards, hired by the one, worked under the other, and there has never been an issue with any of that. And that's all I'd like to say.
Your title is what?
I'm the electrical inspector and plan review for electrical.
When you talk about the building official, talk about Mr. Gilman.
Mr. Gilman, correct.
Or anybody you hire in the future,
Yeah,
the building.
normally it goes through, if I have a questionable thing in the field, I'll call down, I'll say, look, this guy is gonna complain, I mean, this is where we stand with it, how do you want to proceed? I mean, I try to work with everybody, but I am bound by law to enforce the acts, the rules, and the codes.
Appreciate that.
Okay. Any questions?
Questions?
I don't.
Thank you. Moving on to committee reports.
What's our next person?
Finance. We didn't have finances. We didn't even vote on it at the last meeting. Public health and safety. You guys have had public health and safety.
That was
What do you have to report? Anything?
From
Tuesday.
Tuesday's meeting? No, because the majority of that meeting was devoted to, oh yeah, well, Sarah's got a presentation after this.
That's
That came up at the.
Yeah,
will entail the
Yeah.
public safety.
And that took the bulk of that meeting.
About courthouse and grounds.
Mostly we talked about the furnace
yeah, it was the heating issue.
and waiting on the architect, excuse me, should speak up, waiting on the architect to get back to us with the final design and bid package, which he assumed would be the middle of March, last discussion.
Yes,
And we're in the process of scheduling the next personnel meeting. You should know when that is, but
Do
I
you know when that's?
well, we have one Monday, but that's specific.
Monday.
I'm sorry, Friday the 7th.
Friday the 7th.
That's for sheriffs.
And then,
Special appointments report.
I don't have anything. You have anything, Mr. Presque?
For the health board, financial status. Total assets, 1.773 million. Total liabilities, 1.125 million. Total expenditures, 1.292 million. Net operations, 27,165. Fund reserves at 675,000. W-2s and 1099s have been all processed there. And the fiscal year 24 audit is going very well. Largest program WIC is completed. We did find $32,000 error and it was corrected. We talked about, they still don't have a nurse. It doesn't look good to find one. Replace the one that left. And a bit on the environmental report, kind of previous to the bills, the sanitation bills, code bills, they died in lame duck. They were just laying there, so they're probably gonna get resurrected again. Or maybe they will, maybe they won't, we don't know. It's all report on home inspection companies. Providers. If they could use that, they're setting up a portal where you can go on it to the state and check compliance. Acceptance. Basically, the IT guy didn't have much to say either. It was a pretty short meeting. You were there, no? Yeah.
Talking about this district health board.
Yeah.
You did a good job of reporting that, Mr. Chairman. I am concerned about one thing, however, and that is the concern that if people have a concealed pistol permit and they even leave their pistol in their car, they might be in the wrong because of a decision made by an earlier board. And I'm concerned about that. Amendment to the Second Amendment gives us the right to have a concealed pistol permit.
Yes, we discussed that too, and they assured us, well, we read the policy, that it was only in a company vehicle, in their own vehicle. They can do it.
Well, I drive my own vehicle, so I don't feel,
Well, they had no business telling you in your own vehicle.
well, I was concerned about that.
I was quite concerned about the whole thing right from the get-go. There were some girls that worked there that really wanted to carry it out in the field. They didn't feel safe in certain areas.
Do you anticipate at a future meeting we have to address this formally and re-vote?
It could possibly come up, yeah. Let's see. Mostly what they were talking about was for the safety of the building,
Yeah,
of people coming in. to
Sure.
the District for Health, you know, kind of like out here. Side of the building. With so much with the workers. That's what I wanted to get clarified in the meeting. Anything else then? All right,
Senior Center,
senior center, yeah.
met with them Monday. What they're looking for, Joe, if, is there any way they can get a strong back this summer on days when they have their the food distribution days for just moving boxes of food or putting them in cars. I had asked Bob about if maybe there are any football players or, but he's not in touch with those folks anymore, but I plan to reach out to the high school coaches, see if we can get some young lads to volunteer in the summer, but do we have trustees or anything that could, no,
Sheriff
nothing?
work program,
Pardon?
the sheriff work program, we've done that for many years.
Oh,
Just gotta make sure the courts put people in it,
so how would I coordinate that?
like me.
Okay.
Contact me about.
I'll take care. Okay, thank you. That's all they really had.
Questions?
I have, I see Chris Geese here. I talked to him earlier about it, stopping by and giving his report. Comment. You got anything, Chris? Did you want to address the board?
No, I'm just introduce myself. Chris Key, GFL Environmental. I'm the general manager for Presque landfill, which falls in Presque County. Westford County landfill, which is in Westford County, and Sheboygan Hauling. Our Sheboygan Hauling location, we service the recycling containers from Presque County. So just want to introduce myself. Everybody's new position on the board and look forward to working.
Michigan Works, we had a committee meeting on the 24th. We approved a $6.9 million budget for the fiscal year. Michigan Works. And the other thing that the CEO came to us and we entered into a contract with her, $87,000 a year plus her bennies. It was for 30 hours of work a week. And she's come to the point where she's working, realizing she's putting 40 to 45 in. And she came to the board, full board there, and asked for an increase in pay relevant to the hours that she was working. And the board voted and adjusted her pay to $104,000 a year. 45 hours work. So what they did is what she was making per hour. And it went around the full board and it passed. And that's where we are with that. Cost of living increases this year. The COLA increases were 2.5%. Last year they were 3.6%. So the cost of living every year too on top of it. She's included in that. And the other thing she talked about, she gave her CEO update. She's actually writing the grants now, so we're not paying an independent grant writer to write the grants for the Michigan Works. So that's part of the duties she accepted. She submitted an ECIC grant October 27th, and they were awarded $90,000. The EPA Thriving Communities Grant was submitted for 2025, and that's $150,000. The NCAN grant, that's a small one, $5,000. She's in progress on the Mitten 24 grant, and that's $446,000. As of January 31st, they assisted in filling 1,627 jobs. They helped 14,229. That's about all she ever reported on. Can't believe how much money they go through there.
Good Lord. Yeah, I'm thinking the same thing.
And what else did I have? Road Commission report. Who the manager? All the garages were busy with snow removal. We purchased a set of forks for the on-way skid steer for $1,200. Mechanics are very pleased with their uniforms that they got. Griffin Brado passed his CDL test. He will return to work as part-time employee. We'll see if his capabilities of operating equipment in snow conditions continues. Dave attended the online PASER training class February 18th. The salt's getting low. Shed there. I guess they went to a ton of salt. You got some prices on 23A for upcoming projects too. For the summer. Carnosa's 23A was at $10 a ton. Free Briley's was at $10 a ton. No, Carlos, excuse me, was $14 a ton.
And natural stone or limestone?
Limestone. So consequently, the natural stone. A few statistics: snowfall for 211, 62 3/4 inches compared to this time last year, 38 Total money spent on removing snow this season so far was $1,090,000. No, that was 2023. 2024, we're already at 808,000. Winter's not over, so. That's about it. 20 drivers are responsible for maintaining 201 miles of primary and 612 miles of local roads, 108 miles of MDOT road. Primary priority. That's all we have to record on that. Questions? Okay, that's it for special committee reports. We've got Bill, John Fong, meeting here.
That's the quote.
That was the
That's
estimate
the
we've
quote.
previously seen. Yeah.
Any commissioners' comments on the table?
Mr. Chairman, I heard Mr. Gilmet say that he'd like to be involved in a budget process. I'm brand new to this board. I understand we have a fiscal year that runs from July 1st to June 30th. The previous board set up the budget for fiscal year 24-25. But when does the new budget committee meet for 25-26? And how does that process work?
All department heads, we get a budget worksheet. And I don't know why the building and zoning department never got a budget worksheet in previous budgets.
They should have. I was not involved in. budget process.
Did they?
I was not here, so.
But the budget committee will meet when to establish, work on the budget for fiscal year 25-26.
Usually, right? Pretty soon. here.
March.
Like March, because the budget has to be moving forward.
Okay, and you guys
We
meet,
got to get the budget worksheets out to the departments, and they actually have to develop their own budget for their department and bring it to the budget committee.
and eventually at some point in time, the entire board of commissioners will react to the proposed budget and yay or nay. Right?
Previously, the clerk was doing the administration end of it. It was all kept kind of excluded from the whole process until it was time to
Okay.
approve the budget.
Second question is, we used to have Jeremiah Wordle here as legal counsel for the Board of Commissioners. He's been elevated to assistant attorney. And do we currently have a counsel that can guide us when we need legal advice?
Well, he said he was going to continue
Until we found some.
until we find someone.
When I used to come to meetings, he'd always be here. I don't see him today. I don't see him here anymore. What's the policy? When I used to speak before the
You know,
board,
he-
there'd always be some lawyer sitting here guiding you folks
He
legally.
he didn't come to actually every meeting, but he appeared periodically, or whenever we called him and we thought we were going to have questions.
So if a legal question comes up, we call our legal and the counsel, and it's him presently, correct?
Till we find somebody to replace him.
Thank you.
Commissioner comments? On the same subject, it's been discussed that, kind of on the same subject, that we reinstitute department head meetings. And maybe now being the 1st of March would be the perfect time to do that, bring them together, talk about our budget process, and how that's gonna go. And I think it ought to be either the chair, the vice chair, or the head of finance, you know what I'm saying? Start with that, and then that also serves to, I have a compiled list of things that people have emailed me from the different departments that I'd be happy to chair that for the first go around and or not at the desire of the chair.
Chair,
Yeah, for the first few
chair,
rounds.
and vice chair.
Yep. And in terms of the first few rounds, with the idea being that we have a lot to learn in this, our first budget process, but at the same time, we have very experienced individuals throughout the departments within the county that have worked on some of their budgets before in their budget worksheets. And I think Val should be part of that, obviously, being a department head and being on that. and our finance head and the clerk, yep. And in the first meeting, the agenda will be, here's your budget worksheets, or what would you like them to see different? And then get them to them later in the month. I think that's something that the department heads, along with the county commission, can work out together. Thoughts, Val?
Yeah, I think sooner rather than later, we should start this budget process.
Yep.
At least in March.
Because you want to have everyone have some input. There's been complaints that, a lot of the department heads
Never
would
had.
say, I submit a budget, and why do I submit a budget? Because then that's not what I get, and nobody talks to me about it. So I think it would be better if people were included.
I agree.
So,
Typically, you
Said-
vote in June for the next fiscal year,
June, July, yeah,
first meeting in June or the second meeting in June.
Preferably the first.
first.
You write down at the end if you go that last one.
Can you, Joe, can you set that up as chair?
Mhm.
Let me know what time we get to meet.
I'll do that. And I'll talk to a couple of department heads, like the clerk, treasurer, and see what day and time works best. And we'll get the emails out to department heads and get that organized, and I'm happy to chair.
You're gonna get all the department heads too, then?
Right, we don't want to conflict.
Joe, you're gonna have all the department heads too, that everyone.
That-
building is on.
That's the plan, yes,
Right.
all of them. And years ago, they did this, and for some reason it went by the wayside. So I think it's a good for communication. I
I
think
was
it's good
never
for,
really impressed with the whole budget process to begin with, since I've been elected, so
it'll be a little more transparent.
that involved.
Happy to do it.
Any other comments? Any other government officials? See Bob.
Yeah, I really have nothing to report, but available to answer any questions that you all have.
Any questions for the train
I'll
commission?
talk with you after.
Been a fun couple of months for you.
Me too.
Clerk have anything?
No report.
Treasurer? Registered deeds is not here. Yeah, you're ahead.
Come on, Joe.
Need a hand?
Just a couple of things out of me. Today, our correction officer, Shay Lozinski, is graduating the Correction Academy at Kirkland. He did the 4 weeks and 160 hours, so I congratulate him. He's 2 o'clock today, so his ceremony down in Grayling at Kirkland. So it's a pretty big achievement for him, and he's done very well in a very hard 4-week class.
Yeah.
So that's today. He graduated today. He's our correction officer now, and he's going to be state certified. You have 1 year to certify somebody when you hire them, so he's underneath that umbrella. So I'm very proud of Shay on that right there. Our other new hiree, so the board and the committee doesn't realize, we hired Doug Gilmet, not Don Gilmet, for corrections dispatch. We hired Doug Gilmet. He's retired from DHS. Now he's working for me as a dispatcher and a correction officer. He started a couple weeks ago and doing a great job. And he's really liking it. It's a different side what he's used to doing. And Doug was a Michigan Department of Corrections officer a long time back. So he's got a little jail experience. And I'm really excited to have Doug on board, taking up a spot that we had lost right away. He came to us and then had just retired from DHS. And now he's working for us. So if you see people that know Doug, you understand what I'm saying. We are still 1 deputy short. We're gonna go back on, get the academies up again, and they have goal site, put the ad out there to hopefully pick up a deputy before spring here. It's usually the time to get it because we get really busy up here. And so we are one. And then just on myself, February 1st this year, I did hit my 25 years with the county, and I got my retirement package in the mail that I can retire. But I'm not gonna.
Yay.
I make people happy sometimes. But I did get my 25 years with the county. And it was pretty nice to get that in the mail when it says MERS and you can now retire. So pretty good feeling. So thanks.
Joe, how young are you?
57.
Okay, you got a ways to go yet.
I got a little bit.
Joe, did you ever get a cook?
We did. And I think, I don't know, maybe the last board meeting or not, but Amber Bowles, Joe knows how the last name better than me.
Amber Bowles.
Doing a fantastic job. Recommend the board, everybody come over and check out the kitchen now. She's totally done it, redone it. She's a lot of, Joe had told me gonna have a lot of energy.
Oh, yeah.
I'm trying to keep up. I had to take an extra Red Bull to keep up with her a little bit because she's pretty high strung, a lot of energy, and she's doing a fantastic job.
She does.
And,
nice.
you know, so her name is Amber Bolts from Millersburg, came highly recommended, from places here in town.
Good
Yep.
lady. You're lucky to have her.
Is the prosecutor sitting back there?
Yeah.
Zach? would you
Yep. I don't have anything to say. I was here, just, for the emergency management meeting coming up after.
I got a question for you
Sure.
while you're here. How heavy is your caseload really, you know?
I think it's pretty much normal, relative to years past for right now. As far as, coming in as a new prosecutor though, there's a lot of stuff that I'm catching up on, still coming into the middle of, so very, very busy. Absolutely busy.
Any other government officials?
Mr. Chairman, we have with us today, the mayor of the city of Rogers City, Scott McClellan. I'd like to ask Scott a question. Scott, we're part of NEMCOG, Northeast Michigan Council of Governments, and you got up at the last meeting and spoke about a couple of projects that we're undergoing in the city of Rogers City. And I didn't really catch on exactly what your train of thought was. Could you enlighten me and the rest of it? What's happening special in the city of Rogers City?
Well, the one project that is extraordinarily important right now is our Bradley Highway situation. So as you know, on Bradley Highway, we've added more entrances. We've had the Thunder Bay Clinic. So you have patients going in and out of there all day long, coming up onto the highway, pulling out onto the highway. You have the dollar store there now, that traffic is in and out. And in addition to the long time situation with family fare, entrance onto the highway there, McDonald's, yada, yada. So, and Rogers City growing and expanding economically, we expect that growth to continue up there. So here's the situation. A couple of years ago, not even 2 years ago now, the lady that was in her 50s loses her life up there. And she isn't the only one. This has happened over many years. It's a situation that has to be dealt with. And I've been having ongoing discussions with Representative Cavett and his legislative aide, Adam. And we also, I reached out to the Michigan Municipal League and actually have some language change within the law that we can look at presenting, which will allow communities that have a situation like Rogers City, where you have M68 coming into US 23. So it's language that would allow communities that have that uniqueness to major roadways to potentially lower the speed in that area. To me, it seems absurd that a community can't petition, if you will, MDOT to lower the speed, but MDOT doesn't like to lower the speed on highways. They're against that. So we're trying to figure out ways that we might be able to get their attention and start saving some lives. I think about this on a very regular basis, that it could be any time that we're going to lose another life up there needlessly. We're not trying to burden anyone and saying, slow down and it's a big issue. Just let's get this dealt with so that we can prevent the loss of life in the future. So that's an ongoing project right now. It's very active.
Actually, we discussed that at the road commission, and not MDOT, we were told Michigan State Police control the speed limits.
So MDOT and the Michigan State Police, you're correct. They do work together on this. So MDOT and the Michigan State Police are not in favor of slowing
No,
limits down. And in fact, I would openly tell you that in a discussion that I have had in the past with MDOT, they say, all right, you want to have a speed study on there? Because that's, if we're gonna change that, we'll have to have a speed study. Here's the way that works. We will have the Michigan State Police monitor that, we'll do a speed study, but just know this, if traffic is going faster than 50 miles an hour, we'll raise the speed. To me, and maybe they didn't mean it this way, but to me, I read that as a threat. You want to roll the dice? Okay. I don't want to roll the dice. I don't want it to go to 55 miles. So, yes, they work together.
Something that might alleviate it a little bit too, is that the road commission, Airport Road is gonna be paved. And that's basically gonna become a truck route, a place for trucks to follow there, so that will probably alleviate some of the traffic at that intersection. I would imagine, because I know I would use it all the time.
That would help some, yes.
But yeah, this has been a problem for.
My concern would come back to the fact that over the years, who has approved all these driveways? You go to a further developed city, and you go within an intersection where there's 50 miles an hour one way, 55 stop the other way. And you go within a quarter mile either direction, hell, go a third of a mile either direction. There's way too many entrances and exits. Those should have been, you should have a boulevard frontage driveway for one exit to pick up 5 businesses, one exit to pick up 5. When McDonald's was introduced, I understand why that was the way it was. It wasn't as developed as it is now. But by the time you do the rest of these things, I didn't count, there's got to be a dozen driveways. There's a lot on the east and west side of 23 there before you get to the stop sign. A dozen. That's crazy.
That is correct.
The engineer should be shot. That's just a joke, but
But in
unqualified, not done well at all.
MDOT permits.
Yes.
that.
Mhm. MDOT permits those driveways.
I mean, that's what we got.
It isn't the county road commission. It's MDOT that approves those driveways, correct?
It isn't.
Entrances and exits to US
Yeah, the
23
city doesn't.
through that business. That's MDOT.
Rachel, you have a comment?
So, yeah, let's just put it this way, you know, we're focusing on that one part right near there, but there should be light. It's always, it's amazing to me that the speed doesn't go down because it's a business zone. But the other thing, we're focusing on those businesses. If all those motels were working and being marketed and we had the kind of tourism here we should have, it would be even busier. The fact that they are almost all of them closed half the year when they could be, like Ellen Plank once told me, be used as a less expensive alternative for people who want to go skiing. The point is that road should be even busier with people turning left and right than it is now. And someone was just saying that the reason the speed goes down on 23 is Alpena is because that's considered downtown. So the other thing, I just wonder if we can look for a different name to call that. It can't be downtown.
Do we have
But if
anything?
that's what it takes, it's a business district and it should be even busier than it is
All right,
now,
thank
you
you.
know? In that,
This isn't
when
an
I first came up.
it's
and
not
the
an
girl
opening
got,
forum.
Killed by for the bus.
Thank you, Scott.
Thank you. Correspondence.
You had one.
Do you have- Clerk,
Yes.
okay.
Is it this?
Yes, yeah. you
Okay.
each had a copy.
You each have a copy.
Never did. Is there a motion for payroll?
So moved.
Or we have motions for payroll. Roll call vote, please.
Okay, Crook,
Yes.
Tellini,
Yes.
Presque,
Yes.
Libby,
Yes.
Motion carried. Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn at 11:30. Support. 11:20. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. We adjourn.
need to talk to them. I'm not gonna be able to stay.
How was Florida, Bob?
I gotta.
Cold.
Should I-
Oh, really? Orlando? He gets-
I've been sick. So I apologize.